So thanks for joining me, Dhanush. I'm very happy that you said yes. I think I've been on your nerves for quite a while now. I think a little bit over a year. So I'm more than happy to have you here and say hi.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, maybe you can introduce yourself shortly. So for all those who are living behind the rocks when it comes to robotics and AI, and then we see.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm Dhanush, co-founder and CEO at Clone. Here we're making musculoskeletal super intelligent androids. So more simply, we're making lifelike human level androids. And that's human level by strength, speed, range of motion, dexterity, intelligence, and so forth.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of videos coming out almost on a weekly basis, and yeah, so many robotics companies popping up. But I think you guys are quite unique in your approach. We can talk about this a little bit later on, and I'm happy to hear all the news that you guys got because I think you have some sort of mysterious aura when it comes to what clones gives to the public. But yeah, I'm more than happy to discover how you grew up and yeah, what kind of environment was it for you when you were younger? Maybe education, yeah, everything that you would like to share with us.
Sure. Yeah, happy to get into it. So I guess I grew up in Plano, Texas. It was uh, school-wise pretty hyper competitive environment, at least in terms of grades and academics and things like this. I didn't always play that game, um, but it was sort of like that. People pretty crazy about their grades, their class rank, their GPA, and so on. And so everyone was trying to like push themselves, and people students would push each other. Um, to compete, to be at the top of the class, to get into the best schools, and so on. And that was kind of that was at least the academic environment that I was in. I sort of tried to stay away from that as much as possible. I played a different game of kind of doing it like just enough to get by, and just enough to get in this sort of like top 7% of the class, so that we could so that I could get into what we had as a automatic admission at our local university, our state university, which was UT, University of Texas at Austin. So the way I thought about things, I guess, growing up was to do just enough academically to cross that bar, and then otherwise get to spend my time doing things that I was interested in personally. So when I was 13, I saw the movie Iron Man, and that was sort of my that was the spark that got me obsessed with technology, and I guess set up my career in technology. And when I saw the film, I think within a year, I went out to a to the local university plasma physics lab, and I ended up building a 1 megawatt ion thruster in the lab. And this is when I was about 13. So the two major vectors after seeing that movie and getting obsessed was sort of robots and vehicles to fly. And I think the way I thought about it at the time was I looked into the various classes of thrusters that were at, like, the highest thrust that would allow me to make something that would let me fly at atmospheric pressure. And in at least as far as electric engines went, the magnetoplasma dynamic thruster, which is a Lorentz force based accelerator that would take in some kind of noble gas propellant, or any propellant really that could be ionized, um, and and then with the Lorentz force, basically an electromagnetic force that 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 uh, that achieves a thrust force in the perpendicular, like, cross product direction from the electric field and magnetic field. That you get a curl that allows for a very high thrust force that's directly proportional to the square of the current in the system. And um, yeah, so I designed electrogeometry, a large capacitor bank to power the thruster, high voltage power supply to charge the bank, and then I got the argon gas propellant to inject it into the nozzle of the thruster between the electrodes, and spark a very high power plasma discharge. That was sort of my first big technology project that I built in my life. I'd always made like smaller little projects, like little rail guns at home, and motors and things like this. But that was my first big project, and that was like directly aimed to see like, could you use this kind of a thruster technology to fly? The answer is actually no. At least in atmospheric pressure, it's like even at that 1 megawatt range, which is like around a kiloamp of current for like a for the 450 voltage capacitors that I'd purchased. You end up with around something like somewhere between 120 to 200 newtons of thrust, which is for an electric engine for a plasma thruster that's super high. It's like way it's like orders of magnitude higher than any other class of ion thruster, but is still like, far below what you would need to far below like chemical thrusters that you use in a rocket to get off the ground, to get off the earth.
Wait a second. I need to cut you short here a second. I mean, I started mechanical engineering and then I later switched to aerospace engineering. So I guess this is the topic because it seems they are very passionate about it. But I think the majority of people that might be a bit too technical, I do love the fact that you are so from the top of your head, this is something that comes very natural to you. You said, and if you don't mind me asking, you said this was a very competitive environment, and I mean it's nowadays there's a lot of things happening in this area, right? I think I spoke to at least two or three startup founders in Austin. I mean, I think right now today it's a totally different game than it was maybe a few years back. But it's not the usual Ivy League environment or people. So how is that? Because was that because you were in some certain class, or you were within a class in a certain group that had this kind of competitiveness, or because normally the majority of people are, as you said, just trying to get by, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, my high school was, I guess, my graduating class. We were the largest graduating class of any high school in the United States. So it was a very large graduating class. Of like, I think it was something around 1,000, 15, 60 students in just my year, something like
Okay.
that. And then within that class, there was like an IB International Baccalaureate program, and that had about like maybe 100, 120, 150 kids, something like that.
Hmm.
And then within that program is definitely more competitive, a little more competitive and intense, and people um, took academics like pretty seriously, at least within that program. But like I said, I was always just trying to do just enough to get by, and I wasn't actually trying to, be like number one or number two in the class or something like that.
Was
And
there a
and that was
reason for
because
that, or was that
it
just
was just it was just practical. It was just practical. It was just like the degree to which you had to, I guess, like focus on academics was you had to like be like really obsessed. You had to like be like pretty certain, like, there's no other school you want to go to except like Harvard or Stanford or something like that. And and so that was the game you had to play um to really to get into the top schools across like such a competitive graduating class. And it was clear to me that was just like more work than I wanted to do.
mm,
Frankly,
mm.
uh to get there. Like I would not have been making my ion thruster on the side if I were playing that game, to be honest. And yeah, it's just a choice of yeah, what I wanted to do with my time. In general today, it's pretty clear to me that it's very difficult for me to do things I'm not that I don't really want to do. Like it's very hard for me to care a lot about, putting effort and time into something that is not like close to my heart, or something that I'm truly passionate about.
I mean, this is actually something that I think the majority of people struggle with, but it
Mhm.
doesn't seem that everyone is so aware, so reflective on that, and being able to articulate this so properly. Because a lot of people are pursuing something they think it has some value for them, and but not being, as you said, 100% behind that and really seeking that. And this is the reason why the majority of people are not succeeding because they are not really doing what they want to do versus what they should do. One question, if you allow me, is I mean, this is very technical. Is that something that I don't know if you would like to share? Is that something that you've been surrounded with, being good with numbers or electronic parts, mechanical parts? Is there something, siblings, parents, is something um, you're surrounded with, or is that something that was just you?
Um, so I guess it's an interesting question in terms of like it's always like mysterious like why people are moved to do what they do, and it could be like a variety of factors. Some things that maybe, I mean, my parents did push me in math from a very early age, but I don't know if they did any more than any other like hardcore Asian parent, to be honest. And my dad did, however, like was giving me like high school physics textbooks when I was like, I don't know, in fourth or fifth grade. So there was definitely some element of being pushed in, like nudged in that direction by my
Mm.
parents. But
Hmm.
um, but the self-motivated part of it only really came out, like I said, after I watched Iron Man when I was 13. And there was something there that was just like, hey, technology is cool, science is cool, creating things is cool. That's like you're sort of like your way out of, I don't know, your social prisons, or I don't know how I could describe my psychopathologies from that time, but it was like a way out to get what I really wanted out of my life. And that sort of what was most empowering to me. I guess I also had a childhood friend from a very young age who like I saw every week, who to this day is also doing very well in life, and he's like at the top of his game in like sort of in AI research, in like a frontier LLM company. And he and I would like see each other every week from a very early age. We were always like doing the same kinds of things, and competing in the same kinds of dimensions, and caring about the same, even like games or hobbies, and things like this, and having, I think, a best friend very early in life who where there's that like natural I don't want to say like let's say very very friendly rivalry, but like just somebody that where you guys can push each other in the things that you care about and you actually like doing, is was a really nice thing I think I had growing up.
And did he join you on your journey at the university and degree and courses, or was it something that?
No, no, no. That was totally outside of school. He was just a neighbor of mine.
I mean, because I mean, it's for me, it would be kind of obvious, like when people go to, because I mean, this is the way it works here. So you go. I mean, there's a couple of schools that are near to you, so there's you're not going too far, right? So the coincidence of you guys going to the same school or going to the same high school or university, I just assume would have been there. But it's nice that you said that you guys are still in contact.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I still know him and talk with him, and I think we roomed together for a summer after we graduated from our undergraduate degrees. We both ended up in New York for like a summer, and we roomed together for that time. And he was doing his PhD in computer science. I was starting my first startup company, and even that summer, I remember we were like still like motivating each other to, uh, you know, I guess perform at our peaks. Uh, in the thing that we were caring about at the time, which for him was his um, let's call it was natural language understanding research at the time, and for me it was getting my first startup company off the ground.
Maybe you can take us there because when you're leaving university now and you walked us through a little bit some technical details from your project. But so what year are we talking about, and what happened? And maybe you can dive into this building your first startup.
Yeah. Well, so the plasma tester project, that was in high school. It was like I was in ninth grade, I think, when I did that. And in uni, I was primarily outside of university. I was working in like nuclear fusion theory research at the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab. That's a DOE national lab with the tokamak reactor, and so I was primarily doing plasma physics research there. But so like fusion reactors, plasma thrusters, this is all in that sort of like vein of like let's call it Iron Man adjacent technologies.
Crazy.
And I think my senior year of university, I had an idea to start a startup company. It was just to make a software doctor essentially, so a very very good symptom checker. So something where you describe what's bothering you, and an algorithm would ask you questions like a doctor would in symptom triage, and ask follow-up questions like do you also have this symptom, or about this symptom, and so on, and ideally triage via some kind of decision tree or Bayesian inference algorithm or eventually like a reinforcement learning algorithm that would um, take the shortest path to making some kind of like diagnosis. And that was kind of the genesis of that startup, and the idea that got me working on that startup company for 4 or 5 years. But overall, the motivation there was really to um, find some kind of software idea that could, frankly, like hit hyper growth and like get to a point where it was making a lot of revenue, enough revenue for me to fund my own, let's just call it like lifelong dreams, like making lifelike robots and plasma thrusters, or rather, let's call them vertical takeoff and landing vehicles, and stuff like this, which I always knew would require a ton of capital to really work and really get off the ground. So I didn't want to necessarily be at the mercy of investors when it came to building those ideas that were very close to my heart, and I wanted to have my own capital to do so. It just turned out that along the way, while I was working on that first startup company, I came to the conclusion that um, that that working on a software idea or ideas, I pivoted through like a few different software ideas to try to find something that could hit. And I more or less discovered that irrespective of the idea, whether it's software, whether it's hardware, like whatever it is in software, it almost doesn't even matter. Like for any real company idea, or product idea that could actually be a really great product, it's going to take years to develop, like many years to develop, to make it really great. And so I more or less came to the conclusion that I was working on something as part of this plan A to so that or A B strategies, like do A so that you can do B, so that you can make money to go do B, and that entire like A B strategy just it doesn't work because once again, coming back to some of the first things we were talking about, you end up um, you're working on something that your heart's not fully in because your heart's somewhere else. And whenever that happens, like it's like tough to work, it's hard to motivate yourself, to do things like every day. Like when things get hard, you have to like get through it and not, fall into a slump. And all that's like quite hard to persist in for years and years, if your heart's not truly in it. So when I met my co-founder Wukash on the internet, and I realized this was like a possibility where I could make a lot of serious progress toward, lifelike androids without even much capital. And I found it very inspiring how he was able to make real progress toward making at least some anthropomorphic hand prototypes on a absolute shoestring budget. And it was that
What
really
year is that? Sorry for interrupting you.
that was in 2020. It was 2020, yeah, is when I came across one of Bukash's videos on the internet on YouTube, and I reached out to him like immediately on Facebook after, I don't know, watching it like over and over for like, I don't know, like a whole day. And I had to like figure out like who he was and where he was doing this or why he was doing this, and sort of what made him tick. And I was just like absolutely um, thrilled to when I found him and to understand what moved him and how his heart was totally in it. And so we got in very quickly after that on Facebook, and we would chat all the time, and we were in touch for I think almost a year before I went out to Poland to meet him in person, and we hit it off very quickly at that point, uh, and we incorporated the company the same day when I arrived in Poland, and we got to talking about like our plans for lifelike super intelligent androids, and then within a couple of weeks after that, I raised $500,000 from some angel investors to get that company started, and I returned the cash and stock that I had from my first company, and I gave that to my co-founder of my first company to keep going on that, and I moved to Poland to work on Clone.
Dude, this is a hell of a ride. So you came to New York then, I don't know, 15, 16, I guess, 2015, 16,
Yeah,
because you said that you worked at your first startup for like 4 or 5 years. And then
yeah,
what I really like here is there's a famous airport here in Germany, in Berlin. It took much, much longer than anticipated to opening this airport. And the thing was, where do you stop? So you invested now 5 years and X amount of money and time and effort. And do you invest more to finish it, or you're not finishing and doing something else, right? And so it kept longer and longer, and more money was invested, and more people got fired, and you renewed. So having the guts to say, okay, I'm spending here quite amount of time, and to be honest, there's only a few opportunities in life to spend like 10 years on something to, as you said, to become really good at it, to really push the needle forward, and to make things happen, and deciding halfway through, okay, I pivoted a few times now, and actually this is gonna fund my plan B versus why is my plan B not my plan A, right? And why can I not do this? And then this is I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, but now you see something on the internet, and that brings two things together: your former idea of some Iron Man, some sort of robot, and then you see something that makes click, some from some stranger, another country, another continent, and then you reach out, talk, and then you decided, you know what, this is what I need to do, and then yeah, going to Poland, I think for your citizen, I mean, Poland is one of the thriving economies in Europe in the last few years, and things are going very well for this country. I think hard work really paid off here, and being very focused. But yeah, for you as an American, or grew up in America, it is different, right? It is I guess quite different. And then you said you moved to Poland, right? To how is that for you?
Yeah, it was I mean it's more manageable than you might think. I think everyone here speaks pretty good English.
Hmm.
I think everyone maybe under the age of 35 or something is like taking English in grade school growing up. So everyone's English is more or less passable from at least the pools that we've been, hiring out of. So in terms of the language barrier, it's I'm able to communicate with everybody that that I work with here. Um, you know, I do wish I've invested more time, to be honest, in learning the Polish language. I'm still like uh, not able to muster more than like a few words here and there.
Mm.
But otherwise, it's been great, and I'm very happy with the quality of engineers and designers and artists and scientists we've been able to pull together here on this sort of crazy mission.
If you don't mind me asking, how many people are you at the moment?
We're almost 47 people at this point.
Not 47. Yeah, it's a medium-sized company. Uh,
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah, it's growing pretty quickly at this point. Yeah.
just going back two steps forward, because I mean, this podcast is not only about the technology and the product and the companies. This is about like people, and for me, it's always nice to hear how things got together. And as we were just talking about, you pivoting not only within the company for two or three times to find the right fit, but then like leaving that company behind you entirely, and then yeah, I mean, like pretty basic. You're starting a new life, right? You're going to a new continent and a new country, new language, and starting a new company. As you said, you incorporated in the day the day after you arrived, or you arrived. So how was that? I mean, because you seem very focused and very strong-willed. How was that from an emotional point of view? Just leaving everything behind and going to something that is quite different from, yeah, where you grew up.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, so if I'm being honest, one thing I'll say is like, that's always the most exciting point of the company. It's actually it may seem like, oh, it's like, a huge change and very intimidating or whatever, but that's like the most exciting time is like making a big decision, knowing that there's a big unknown ahead, like, possibilities are endless and, where could this go? It's all very exciting, like sort of in that moment. I think there's a I don't know where I saw this, but I heard someone say once that we do not do these hard things because they're easy, but because we thought they would be easy, or or something like that. And it's not that I thought like building clone would be easy, but I definitely felt that very when we're starting the company that and a lot of founders I think feel this when they get like some idea that somehow like hits like some spark in their head. You sort of feel like, oh my God, the stars are aligning, like everything is like right, this is like the most ripe, opportunity ever. But really like I mean I felt this to like an insane degree when I was starting Clone. I was like quite I could see that there was an inherent like advantage in building a technology like this uh in a direction orthogonal from more or less every what things that anybody else was attempting. Today you can really see this. It's become more apparent today than I think ever that all of the other humanoid morphologies are essentially converging to a single design, while clone still stands apart from the rest of the industry. And on day one, this was like just super apparent. We're starting with the hardest problem in the human level robotic hand when we started this company. And so perfecting the human level robotic hand, getting it durable enough so that it is more durable than any other anthropomorphic sort of robotic hand ever made. Um, having specs like getting to human level strength and speed and range of motion, and at the same time having like a softness to the exterior of the body, so it's like plush or fleshy to the touch. Um, and and then seeing how Lukash was able to get so much done with such a small budget is just an honest signal and a testament to the low cost for producing one of these robots. And so it just came with like all of these advantages that made it seem like a great business opportunity for the right person who could get past like the massive amount of risk that comes with starting a company where you have to do so much upfront investment in technology, where you have to like where nothing's actually um, the energy physics of the problem is not even solved yet, and so there are still like open problems, um, like big open problems to deal with, like for example the compactification of the hydraulic power unit and valves and batteries and so on, all inside of the rib cage and abdominal volume of the skeletal torso. So for the person who would be comfortable with taking on all of this technology risk that comes with doing that, anyone starting at any humanoid company, even a motor actuated humanoid company, you're taking on technology risk because you have to build hardware, and building hardware is hard in general. But to like take that to like, I don't know, like 10 levels like higher and saying like, I'm going to build like a radically different actuation system from scratch that, nobody else is building, and figuring out problems that nobody else in the world is even trying to solve because they're not even attempting it. It's like a different level of risk. But then when the payoff is so clear that if you've solved these problems, that you would get a truly human level android. And that is the goal of this company, is human level androids by strength, speed, degrees of freedom, intelligence, dexterity, and to human level hands, of course. And in order to do that, we took it upon ourselves to found this company on this insight that if you have an artificial muscle technology that is uh, approaching human skeletal muscle in performance, then you will get the product of that will be human level androids, and we'll have a robot design that just that outclasses everything else in the industry, and that we could do that.
Just the last few weeks, I saw a few videos. I think everyone else saw them as well. Because there's two parts to it, right? There's the hardware part that is totally different from what everyone else is doing, as you just said it, right? And I think you said it pretty clearly that everyone else is going to the same form factor, basically. And I mean, there's a few big companies working on that, right? A few big American ones, and then the Chinese are pushing out humanoids on a weekly basis. If you go to those fairs, you can see it. But here, you said you do need to solve problems that no one else is solving because they're not working on it, right? They are working on different problems, and all those um, labs and universities and interns and not only companies but research as well going in a different direction. I think there's only a very small portion that goes in the direction that you guys are going. So you're truly uh, like an explorer, right? You don't, as you said, coming to Europe, coming to Poland, you don't know what's ahead of you. But then there comes the AI part. You do need to be able to control that physics,
Mhm.
that form factor, and here, um, I think my expertise is not enough to really fully understanding this, but there is something that no one else is working at, and now and the things that everyone is working at is very complicated anyways. So this is
Mhm.
very complicated to make a humanoid work, right? And just the videos from yesterday, before yesterday, from Optimus, how yeah now he can move via speech, or he can do things he has been not been trained on. All those things then would be the same kind of problems, but with a different differentiator that you need to move things differently. So Yeah, maybe you can say a bit more about this.
Yeah, yeah, happy to talk about it. I'm curious how heavy that trash bag was in that recent demo video. It's not clear to me that it was really filled with
Really trash.
a real trash. Yeah, it could have been a bunch of paper. So I'm skeptical of this, but otherwise, I mean, it's overall like it's a very impressive demo. But you know, lifting a heavy trash bag is like it's like a very like real human task, and you know, to do that without like tearing the bag and if you have the trash bag like in a trash can and you have to like actually like muscle the trash bag out of the trash can in a way that you know it's not like just getting stuck against the sides of the can via friction. You know, like these are all challenges that like frankly like as a human, sometimes you get stuck in these situations, and you're like, oh, I have to like apply way more force than I thought I needed to do this task, and you have to like really like, put some effort to get the task done. And you know, any kind of like edge case like this that you see in the real world, you need human level hands, you need human level strength, and this is something where like I think all of the robot morphologies today are still falling short by quite a lot. It's possible to Tesla's like Gen 3 hand that's tendon driven or 1X's tendon driven hand is getting, you know, is inching closer to human level strength because of the tendon drive. But these are all still fall short of actual you know, human capability. Humans are very capable in the fingers and their hands and how much strength they have and how much speed they can, you know, move the joints with all in a single morphology. Um, the softness of the hand like really matters. The natural grip that's produced, the center of equilibrium, that's a stable equilibrium at the center of the palm, that's spherical rather than cylindrical, matters. And the devil is like in all the details that put together a real, you know, a good human hand, and you know, obviously a overall human level android. I'm still like, you know, I think jury's still out. I haven't seen any robot that can cook yet. Cooking is like where is like a large set of tasks in the home where you immediately see the need for human level hands to lift a cast iron pan, to apply enough force to cut a vegetable or a pineapple, or um, you know, to scrub after you know bake a dish of pasta, and you know tomatoes sauce is like you know gotten all you know crusty on the sides of the dish, and you have to actually apply some force to like seriously you know scrub some of that you know off the baking dish. Like cooking is like a massive set of tasks where it's like becomes super obvious to see where you really want truly human level hands. So my sense is that Clone is still pushing something here that is very valuable, that's going to unlock a ton of customer value that other companies are going to struggle to unlock. That is already Clone has already solved frankly hardware problems that I'd argue everybody else in the industry is still like you know trying to like desperately figure out how to solve today, that we solved like you know within the first 18 months of the company. And then yeah, there are some problems like in software and AI um and I don't even really like to say AI ever because it's like you know there's like so much bundled into that buzzword. But as far as that goes, you know there are yeah there's definitely some edges in pursuing simpler morphologies in motor actuated hardware where you can get the hardware off the shelf and use you know tried and tested hardware to work on algorithms and robot learning that is more difficult for Clone because we have to you know get to a point where our hardware is like extremely stable and solved out. But I think this is the year where Clone starts really seeing the first its first robot learning demos. So I mean, remains to be seen, I know, but we're opening up a US office this summer, and we'll be putting in a lot of investment and effort into training our first robot rigs to perform some real tasks. So you know uh, you know tune in and we'll see how it goes. But my suspicion is that we will I think put out some really nice demos that show that the clone hardware is in fact capable of doing things that I think are important to people and you know are going to unlock a lot of value and that I think is going to impress the world.
This is truly crazy. I mean, if I show these videos to my family that are not in robotics and they don't follow those news online, it looks, yeah, I don't know a good word for that, but it looks fantastic. It looks surreal. It looks like from a movie, right? And then here you're talking and say like this year we actually yeah gonna scale. We're gonna. You said that you're gonna open a US office.
Yep. Yeah, we'll open a US facility. We've had like a live work unit in the US that we're kind of using as a satellite location to run some demos for some people. investors and scientists and stuff like this. But we haven't actually had a real office that we've been working out of. But we should be opening one toward the end of the summer
In the Bay Area?
in the Bay Area. Yes.
How is that compared to the US? I mean, Europe is very fragmented, and there's a lot of strength in the R&D scene. But when it comes to the word scene, there's a few attempts. I mean, Zurich is trying to become a robotic valley. There's here an area in Germany. They're trying to Saxophone Valley. So there's a
Mhm.
few places in Paris at the moment. I think I know at least, I don't know, six, seven, eight robotics, AI companies that doing different kind of things. There's a few hackathons that just happened there. And so how is it for you guys? Because you were talking earlier with your neighbor, friendly, yes, I think you said rivalry. So being competitive, but without the negative aspects, like really pushing each other, supporting, and so it is nice to have this kind of environment, right? There's a reason why I have this podcast to understand who is inspiring you, who's pushing you further. But how is that for you guys being in Poland? How is the startup scene? How's the technology scene for you
Yeah.
guys?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, like you might draw conclusions from, my upbringing and how that, affects things, but I don't necessarily see it the same way, like that it's all, it's all good and, competition's good and all this. I think like the fact that we've been in Poland, solving problems, divorced from the problems that everyone else is solving, working on our roadmap, that's again like quite different from everyone else's roadmap, and not having to worry about really what everybody else is doing is more of a gift really
Mm,
than like being in an environment where like everyone is kind of like next to each other, trying to solve the same problem like 1 week in advance or something. There's a like ton of anxiety that comes with, hey, my competitor is working like so fast, so like if I'm not doing X, like they will, and I'm not even sure that all of that is uh, psychologically beneficial for obtaining the best results and obtaining the best performance and so on. So my sense is that actually being away from it all leads to real focus and real clarity, and your um, and decisions are being made from a place of you know uh, making decisions without like internal conflict, and just decisions that are just like unequivocally the right decisions to make for the company. So at Clone, it's a very vision-driven company. Not to like toot my own horn or anything. It's just but that's really like how we run the company. It's like we want human level androids. They have to have strength, human level strength, speed, and range of motion. And the consequence of that is that you end up with this very lifelike, um, human-like looking thing, and it has a soft body and it's very low cost, and all of these are just like natural consequences of that. But the goal is, we want to get to human level strength, speed, range of motion, human level in function, and in optimizing for that, we take the musculoskeletal design philosophy to do that, and then that leads to a set of technical challenges to make that work, and then we're just relentlessly um, solving one problem. Sometimes that leads to a couple different problems. Then some cases we'll go solve those problems. Some cases we'll go back to the drawing board and seeing, hey, is there a better way to do this? And there's just a natural, design and engineering progression that occurs to while keeping that vision, firmly in mind and in sight.
I think this is the first time that someone is actually being able to put this down and really saying, yeah, I mean, there is some sort of competitiveness that talking about the same things can lead to other things, right? And working on similar things and having people around. I mean, there is some sort of vibe at it, but you are actually pretty right. I mean, if you're not thinking all the time about what other people are talking to you and what other people are invited to, and really being kind of shield from the outside world, an enclave in Poland on your own, that can lead to something that
Fresh
is
and
just
novel. Yeah.
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 So you said that hardware is hard and investing is hard. You were so open about that you said you raised like 500K in the first for the first few things that the clone was able to do. How is the situation for you now as we see big numbers popping up and like huge
Yeah.
numbers being thrown around? Figures 675 is still on top, I think. Then Aptronic with 400. I think there's a few companies that were able to raise like three-digit million. And yeah, so is that something you would like to give your opinion about this, or is that something that we
Yeah.
can skip?
Yeah, I think I'll say we have capital now to to make like really good progress on our problems, but yeah, in terms of working on a mega financing, we'll just say so I'll let you know when we know.
A few of the other companies are trying to piggyback on credibility and see and showing that there's a need, right? Because as an entrepreneur, the problem should come first versus the technology. And here, the American companies were very eager to work with German companies, German automotive, and then you see, for example, 1X, they are pushing the we go to the people's home, right? We are not looking for manufacturing. We don't want to partner with any car company. How is it for you
Mhm.
guys? What is the aim of your robot? What is the first use case, so to speak?
Mhm. Yeah, there's always a question I frankly struggle with maybe more than I should, but it's like I want general purpose robots. I want robots that can do anything humans can do. In particular, I want robots that can do anything that I wanted to do at any given moment, which changes a lot. But so that's what's important to me, and obviously 1X pushing the home robot direction is sort of in that vein. Also to make a home robot, that's a general purpose robot. You can't make a home robot without it being like a really general purpose, like a you can't make a home humanoid robot really useful unless it's a general purpose robot. So going down that path is setting them up for making general purpose robots, and that's cool. There are a lot of the way I see it, there are a lot of practicalities to deal with trying to put robots in the home, which make it more intractable as like a go-to-market strategy. But nonetheless, it's something that could be interesting to see how that goes for them, especially if you start by just dog fooding it with just the employees in your own company and putting it in the homes of the employees in your company. They're all local. Then you guys could you could drive around like in 5 minutes and go make a repair to a robot as needed. So there are probably ways you could make that work, but I think if you're trying to sell like an early fleet of robots for a very high margin, for a very high price point, you may not have the luxury of having all of your home consumer customers be in a very very short radius um, from your repair technicians, or whoever you need to deal with the practicalities of a pilot kind of fleet of robots. So my sense is that that there are likely applications that can be real stepping stones to on the way to home robots that can provide like similar diversity of environments and tasks, um and let's just call it like a real world like OpenAI gym environment, like so like an RL like environment where you have like a clear like reward state and like a shuffled initial state, and it's like an RL agent just like playing a game to go from random initial state to reward state. I think like a hotel room is like a sort of an example of that. Like
Mm.
in a hotel you have like a bunch of different rooms. Every room is like sort of a different initial state of messy, and there you're trying to get every room to the same final clean room state that's like basically the same. And so robots get like a ton of reps inside of a hotel. You can have like a single technician or repair person like in one facility to serve as many robots, and you can collect a lot of data this way. And cleaning a hotel room seems like, oh, that's not general purpose, it's just doing cleaning, but the number of different tools you have to use to clean a room, and the number of different like yeah different tasks you're solving in that one environment is actually quite a bit. And I think even conquering that one environment gets you a lot of diversity. But frankly, even before that, like I do think there is virtue in finding an industrial task or industrial set of tasks, where you can, make a lot of revenue and have an even lower bar. Even cleaning a hotel room is a pretty high bar. Like you need um, as I've stayed, I stay in hotels like as part of a lot of my travels, and I expect it to be pretty clean and it's got to be really good. So the bar for the robot to clear is very high. There are like industrial tasks that are definitely simpler and lower hanging fruit where you can deploy on the order of tens of thousands, 100,000 robots for a single application, make a lot of revenue. And frankly, if you have like a lot of revenue, you can reinvest it into creating more diverse environments and tasks and investing wherever you need to get to general purpose robots, in part making more robots.
The data collection part, I think that was one of the things that you saw in the Optimus video where we say, we trained them on videos, right? So
Mhm.
training on videos. There's a lot of things that needs to be handled to be make a humanoid working. How is that? I mean, with 47 people, you do might have a few departments, but like really focusing on the most important things first. I think this is something that when I talk to founders and when I work with companies and startups, I do see very often that you were talking about vision a few times, and here the alignment of vision, and then everyone within the company understands the vision, but then that needs to be translated into what needs to be done to achieve this with a timeline and milestones. And here the lack of skill to be able to prioritize this and distribute this idea throughout the different departments seems to be very hard. And so do you guys know what needs to be solved first and in which order to achieve what you guys want to achieve?
Yeah, I think what yeah, this is sort of like, pre-funding, you just work on like, like when we're on a 500K budget, you're working on like, yeah, whatever you need to get to sort of the next stage. So if you can put out like if you can put out a human level robotic hand and you like can wave it around to investors in the Bay Area or something like that. And it's mobile. We had these like briefcase hands that are in some of our old demo videos that are circulating online. That's like a massive lever, right? Like it's something that nobody else in the world has. We solved this like hard problem that is like problem in robotics, like I said, that everyone in the industry is now trying to solve today, which is to make a human level robotic hand that really works. And we started by solving that, and so that's a big lever to pull. And when you have a small number of resources, you're just looking for the biggest lever you can find. And then you have more funding, and now you're thinking about, again, with the vision like straight in mind, like how many different like problems can I solve in parallel, given the budget I have. And and yeah, and like the order of operations is something that's it's like constantly kind of evolving. We made a decision to like that hand we took to the Bay Area in May 23 to raise our seed round, which was a $6 million round from Initialized, which is the VC firm that Gary Tan founded. Toward getting that round, that hand we had, that was a hydraulic hand. So we made our own hydraulic valves and power unit to power that hand and compactified it all into this little briefcase that housed both the hand and all of those internal components. And after that, after we got the seed round, we made this decision to like take a break from hydraulics essentially for like the next 18 months and work primarily with pneumatic systems, a large central compressor, off the shelf pneumatic valves, and this was our way of like rapidly prototyping the biomechanics of the whole robot to get to let's call it full body biomechanics from head to toe for an entire bipedal android. And so again, this decision was made sort of toward solving some of these critical biomechanical problems very quickly, while kind of like sacrificing some other important problems like having our hydraulic valves power unit ready. But those are problems again that we felt certain that given the resources that we need to solve them, that they would get done. And yeah, we're on our way to doing that now.
I mean, I'm just happy that I mean, this walkthrough is for everyone who is going through that. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I have this podcast to show where people come from, what they have been facing, what kind of obstacles were in their way, how they made decisions, what kind of course do I take, do I continue with this company, do I start my own company, and when I have a company, how do I start raising money? I mean, this is the reason why I have this. So I'm very happy that you are so openly and naturally like walking us through because I think there's a lot of learning for people when they listen, right? There's a lot of struggle. And I mean, there's plenty of books out there, and now you get the LLMs where that is comprised the all the knowledge that you can find out there. But still, I was interested in you guys and you in particular. I think everyone saw the videos. The videos went viral. Every time you guys dropped something, it was kind of like. I mean, I'm not into clothes, but I do know that companies do this kind of things, like dropping only a certain amount of things. So everyone wants to know more, and I think you guys playing this game very well. Uh, and yeah, I'm very happy that I think I saw you in that was in San Francisco at the Humanoid Summit, and you were so kind to spend a few seconds with me. So I'm very happy that you said yes, have this podcast because I really wanted to understand all the other companies, not all the other companies, but a lot of the companies are using their CEOs to raise money, to raise awareness, to play with the social media or with the media in general, but also leveraging VCs, right? This is the demo that works fully perfectly, even though everyone in the industries knows this was like take 385, and this was the only time it worked. So we're glad we have this on video. And yeah, you guys are very quiet, very not shy, but very focused on what you guys are trying to solve. So I was very happy that you said I give you a little bit of insight, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what's coming next. You were giving away a little bit of info here, and we're keeping our eyes and ears open. Let's see if I will ever be able to make it to Poland because I think even though you said you guys are very focused, I do know there's a lot of things happening there, right? So I have a few people in Poland, and yeah, let's see if I can have a look at what's coming. And yeah, thanks for taking us with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on this. This is fun.
I wish you guys good luck, all the best, and is there anything that you can announce in terms of we will see you guys at certain fair or have a look out at Q4, Q3? Is there anything there's that you can give away?
Well, I'll say stay tuned for the next video for now. I'll probably make a post for the next time we make a public appearance at some kind of, summit or conference or something like that.
Awesome. Thank you, Danush. That was very kind of you, and take care.
Great. Thank you, Ilya.
Bye
Cheers.
bye.
Bye-bye.